Before Ademawa's hand ever got stuck on a peach, he was just a dusty farmer and herbalist. When he left Congo, the country's political situation was becoming too unsettling for him. He felt that the government was slowly sliding towards authoritarianism. In such a place, he believed there was no room for people like him, those who preferred solving problems through reason and open dialogue. When his mother asked him to point out specific instances of the government's irrationality and one-sided decisions, he snapped in frustration, "You see, it's because of thinking like yours that South Africa seems like a better place to live." From that response, his mother understood that Ademawa was eager to explore new horizons but was too shy to admit it. Instead, he had resorted to a more aggressive approach, as many village men did. Smiling gently, his mother said, "Ademawa, hostility doesn't define manhood. You need to learn how to express your desires clearly and confidently without intimidation. If you want to go to South Africa, nothing is stopping you. But may I ask, besides Congo's troubled politics, what else drives your decision?" "Opportunity," Ademawa replied, finally feeling a sense of relief. "Then you have my blessing," his mother said. And so, Ademawa found himself in Edenville Township, a place famous for its many peach trees. Edenville had its own set of rules. Though not official laws, they were essential for maintaining order, stability, and peace. With the help of Mr. Godavari, a man named after a sacred river in India, Ademawa was able to settle in and adapt. One of the most important rules, as Mr. Godavari explained, was that he could pick peaches from any tree that grew in the streets but never from the ones inside residents' yards, as breaking this rule could lead to expulsion from the township. When Ademawa asked if that was really possible, Mr. Godavari assured him it was, explaining that Edenville residents acted as a collective when it came to township matters but valued their personal spaces and individuality within their own yards. Edenville had its share of troublemakers too. One of them was Sina, who called himself Reptile and fancied himself a rapper. He made a living stealing electrical cables and took pleasure in leaving people in the dark. Despite his antics, Reptile attended church regularly. Since his arrival in Edenville, and under Mr. Godavari's advice, Ademawa had grown fond of a young woman named Evelyn, a fellow churchgoer. Though Ademawa had his doubts about her, Mr. Godavari vouched for her, and the two began dating. One day, Reptile had his eye on stealing a cable from a transformer near Ademawa and Evelyn's home. Needing to scope out the area without drawing attention, Reptile paid the couple a visit, offering to do repair jobs while secretly studying the transformer. Once he'd finished, he noticed a peach tree and asked if he could pick one. Though 2/3 of the tree's branches hung over Ademawa's yard, he declined, telling Reptile that he didn't remember owning a tree. "Say what? You seriously sold yourself on that tree policy scam?" Reptile hissed, a sly grin spreading across his face. "The tree is practically yours, man. I'll just steal a snack. Sister Evelyn, wanna see what I'm talking about?" "Sure," Evelyn said sweetly, smiling at Reptile. "Why not? It's just a peach, after all." Evelyn followed Reptile to the tree while Ademawa stood awkwardly, unsure of what to do. "They're delicious," Evelyn said when she returned, offering Ademawa a peach. Her voice was smooth, almost hypnotic. "Go ahead, Ademawa. Try it. Don't be such a stickler for rules. No one's watching." Ademawa hesitated, his hand hovering over the peach before finally taking a bite. It was, indeed, delicious. The next day, it began to drizzle as Ademawa went to use the outdoor toilet. On his way out, he glanced at the tree and felt tempted to pick more peaches. Without confirming whether the tree was truly in his yard, he started gathering some fruit. Just then, a woman from the neighboring yard appeared and stared at him. "Hello, ma'am," Ademowa greeted, but she didn't respond. He stood there, holding 2 peaches, one half-eaten, and with one hand still grasping a peach on the tree. The silence was uncomfortable, so he tried again. "Ma'am," he called out, louder this time. Still no response. He wondered if the rain was playing tricks on him, but her fixed gaze unsettled him. "Do you have something to say, ma'am?" Ademowa asked. The woman's expression slowly shifted to anger. As Ademowa followed her gaze, he finally noticed that the tree's trunk was rooted in her yard, even though most of its branches extended into his. Realizing too late that the peaches weren't his, he looked back at her. I was going to offer you some peaches, but I guess they're yours, so may I please have some?" Ademowa stammered. "If I hadn't shown up, what would you have done, rude neighbor?" the woman snapped. I would have picked them and left," Ademowa admitted, shrinking under her gaze. "I'm telling Mr. Godovery about this. And when he finds out, you'll be kicked out of Edenville for good." "Over a peach?" Ademowa exclaimed, his voice shaking. "Yes," she said, then turned and called, "Honey." At that moment, Mr. Godovery emerged from the house, his presence commanding, like thunder in the sky. "What is going on here?" he bellowed, his voice booming as if the very ground trembled beneath him. The woman pointed at Ademowa, still holding the peaches. "Look at what he's done," she said. "Stealing peaches like a common thief. What are you doing with my peaches, you foolish boy?" Mr. Godovery roared, his voice as sharp as lightning. "Did you think you could just take from me?" I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize," Ademowa stammered, his voice shaking. "Put them back. Now." Mr. Godovery demanded, his tone like an eruption, full of righteous fury. In a panic, Ademowa fumbled with the peaches, trying to press them back onto the tree. "I swear, sir, I didn't know. Evelyn and Reptile, they tempted me. I thought the tree was in my yard." "I don't care what you thought. You have violated the sacred peace of this place. I want you out of Edenville by the end of the day." Mr. Godovery's voice was final, as though the heavens themselves had spoken. "No, sir, please," Ademowa pleaded, his voice small and wavering. I can explain. It won't happen again. Please. Leave now and never return." Mr. Godovery thundered, his judgment absolute.